Republican Party. How you doing?
Great to be with you, Andrew.
Okay, so Donald Trump went for over an hour, took questions from a wide range of media outlets. Kamala Harris has not done one press conference since becoming the Democratic nominee.
Well, I think her handlers are very smart to keep her away from these press conferences. There's an old saying that it's better to stay silent and have people wonder if you're an idiot than speak and to leave no doubt. And we've seen every time she is unscripted. She doesn't know what she is talking about. When she talks about her own record, it is an absolute failure. And so I think that her handlers are incredibly smart to keep her away from the press conferences. What we need to do with President Trump and on the Republican side is to continue to talk about her record. And here in California, no one knows better than us her record, whether it's on the border, unemployment, whether it is our education system, our economic system, our public safety. She has failed, and everything she has done has happened here first and has happened here worse in California.
Well, look, the press will happily lie for Democrats, okay? You see what they're doing right now. They're acting like they don't know that J.D. Vance is a Marine and saying, why are you guys attacking Tim Walz, right? They'll play that game. The one thing they don't tolerate is when they get shooed aside. And if Kamala Harris isn't going to talk to them, that's going to raise their ire eventually.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. We're still in this honeymoon period for her, and it was to be expected. They shook things up. They very quickly all got in line, which kind of surprised me. But this honeymoon phase is going to eventually be over. And there is going to come a time when we have to talk about the policies. Here in California, when public safety is front of mind for everyone. This is a woman who was our attorney general. She was in charge of writing title and summary for every single one of our propositions, including propositions 47 and 57, which decriminalized theft up to $950, which released felons into our communities, making us less safe. We are now 10 years later trying to fix that with Proposition 36 and clean up the mess that then Attorney General Kamala Harris made here in California. We want to make sure that what has happened here in California, our beautiful Golden State that has just turned into a criminal's paradise, does not happen to the rest of the country.
Trump did get a lot of policy questions. He said he was not going to touch Social Security. He said abortion is an issue best left to the states. He has reiterated that position over and over again. And he said even, in some states where they thought they might have more conservative outcomes, that they had more liberal outcomes, like in Ohio. And he said the key to bringing down inflation was getting our energy policy back to where it was, where we were energy dominant. All of these are questions that Kamala Harris can't answer.
She can answer those questions because her record is very, very clear on this. And it's not just the last 3.5 years that she has been vice president. It's the last 20 years. She was the author of the Green New Deal in the Senate. Here in California, we have some of the most regressive energy policies in the entire country. What has that brought us? A state that is rich in natural resources. We pay the highest gas prices in the nation. A company like Chevron, who has been based here for 145 years, just made the decision last weekend to leave California and have their base of operations in Texas. It is because of the war on energy that people like Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom has led in our state that are pushing energy companies like Chevron out and causing to drive up the prices for all consumers.
Sooner or later, look, this has to come to an end. Trump said that he's agreed to 3 debates. Watch this.
With all of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates. And we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So we have those 3 dates, and those networks, they're very anxiously awaiting that date and those dates. So we have September 4th, September 10th, and September 25th. We have spoken to the heads of the network, and it's all been confirmed, other than some fairly minor details. Audience, some location, which city would we put it into, but all things that will be settled very easily, I think it'll be very easy. The other side has to agree to the terms. They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight.
Well, so far, the only one that she's agreed to is the ABC News debate. She's not going to go walking into unfriendly debate arena like Trump has done many times. I don't believe for a second that she would ever set foot here at the Salem News Channel, over at Newsmax, Fox News. She is not going to put herself in a position to look as bad as Biden did.
And Democrats are certainly at a disadvantage when it comes to this. Republicans are constantly playing defense when it comes to the mainstream media. So this is what we have to put up with day in and day out. So Democrats are really at a disadvantage, and Vice President Harris is probably at a greater disadvantage than most Democrats, because you can't just laugh your way out of these real policy questions. And that's what you're going to say. You know, even an organization like CNN, I think, did an incredibly fair job with the debate between President Trump and President Biden. They did a fair job. And at the end of the day, it was so incredibly clear to everyone that watched. When you have a fair debate, we win.
Yeah, well, again, Trump is out there talking about his policies, his plans, saying, you know, look, and he also pointed out during this press conference, there was no further incursion into Ukraine from Russia when he was president, that something like 10/7 didn't happen when he was president. And then he talked about countries that are opening their mental institutions and opening their prisons. That's all real. And she has had nothing to say. And maybe it's the media's letting her go because this is, like you said, the honeymoon, but this hype has to come to an end. So yes, she's getting good poll numbers and she's had a couple of rallies, but when she starts talking about what she really wants to do, I feel like those poll numbers are going down.
And when Americans start voting, they're going to recall what 4 years under President Trump was like, when we had hit records in every single employment sector, when we were energy independent here in the United States of America, dominant, as you put it, when our economy was humming, when people felt like they were finally getting ahead, when our border was secure. Listen, these are all things that American voters are going to be thinking about when they go to the polls. And they're also going to be thinking about the last 3.5 years. And this wasn't the Biden administration. This was the Biden-Harris administration. She was the last person in the room for every major decision. President Biden has been very clear about that. He wanted to put her in charge of the border because when she talked, people listened. And now we've seen over the last 3.5 years, 140% increase in illegal crossings. She has to be responsible for all of these policies. And that's what Americans are going to remember when they have to go to vote in November.
Yeah, and I'll wrap with this. The Bradley effect. There are probably people answering polls because they feel an inward guilt. They're supposed to like the idea of her, but deep down inside, they know what the next 4 years is going to look like. It's going to look like the past 3.5 years. Jessica Kamala Patterson, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.